Seeing subplots and side quests. It's your boy Joshua Awesome here with my friend.
Chris CKJ, how's it going, y'all?
Yeah, so we are starting it off with some gaming news. We've got a lot of topics to discuss, a lot of things that, really grate our gears, a lot of cool things coming out that we're excited for. So we're going to go ahead and start it off again after we realized we had this technical difficulty with some NetEase news. We have the new Mystic Mayhem game coming out from NetEase, which is a tactical turn-based game, kind of like a gotcha game, where it's going to feature several different Marvel characters. Um, what I really like about this is it kind of doesn't rehash the same character designs that NetEase kind of already has with Marvel Rivals, which I really appreciate the fact that they're trying to make it, totally different with the art. It's still similar in that animated mix of, it seems like a mix of the Western comic book characters with almost like an anime flair, right? What do you think of
hmm
the uh the new skins, the game in general? What do you think, Chris?
I like the skins a lot. I know we were talking about like how the Juggernaut looks pretty cool with the Simbo Sidorak on it, or even like the Hulk looking a little bit more savage than he does, kind of like a Planet Hulk type of look, which is really cool. And it being like a turn-based system, which is, in my opinion, usually pretty fun and pretty good on like mobile games because it's not like too intensive or too crazy and anyone can join. So I think it looks good. And also, just like you said before, not using the same skin between two different games, I think helps it stand out by itself a lot.
Yeah, they've given themselves liberties with like the demons and stuff like that.
hmm
There's definitely some unique and original characters just for that game. Uh, so that's also interesting. I like a lot of the cast, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
hmm
That would have been great to also have in Marvel Rivals. So who knows if that's
Oh
going to
yeah.
come. And I mean, this also makes it really easy for them to do some crossover skins within themselves instead of having to pull from the art of what's been out. Or maybe even it would be cool if they kind of drew. I mean, like Armor definitely has a lot of like the X-Men manga vibes. So I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Marvel has a lineup of like their own versions of the main Marvel universe, but in manga form and like in Japanese art style and manga art style.
Yeah. I've seen the Deadpool one. That one's actually pretty kick ass. That one's really fun.
Yeah, yeah. And then what we got coming out with NetEase as well is two brand new characters for Marvel Rivals. We've got Blade, we've got Jean Grey. What do you think about Blade and Jean Grey?
I think Blade is pretty cool. I'm glad that we got him, sooner rather than later because everyone's like, oh, when's Blade coming? He's coming in like a month and a half. So excited for that. His moves look pretty cool. His design on point and no pun intended. But yeah, I like his design overall, really good. And then Jean Grey, I really like her design with the Phoenix Force being, we were talking about a little earlier, like Jean Grey by herself, and then the Phoenix Force kind of being like right next to her, helping her with some moves. But yeah, I kind of like both the designs. They look really good.
Yeah, I'm undecided about Jean's character design, mainly because just I'm a big comic book nerd. So the the depiction of Jean Grey alongside the Phoenix Force, she's always been like part of it. Like they are one. You know what I mean? They are one and the same.
hmm
Which makes me feel like, oh, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's like it's not the traditional depiction, which makes sense because they've taken a lot of liberties with some of the heroes and the character designs. Like they're still distinctly them, but also distinctly uh Marvel Rivals. You know what I mean?
right.
Kind of like how we were impressed with how distinct the Marvel Mystic Mayhem is. Which makes sense, because there's been a lot of different variations amongst costumes and characters in Marvel in general. I do love how they're tying it into, essentially they're releasing a character that has been a major part of the story of Marvel Rivals with uh, the big Blade, coming out. We got Marvel Rivals Blade before we got a live action movie of Blade. So
Dude, we
I
got
thought
a
that was
Blade in
kind
a
of we got a what?
yeah. I was gonna say we got Blade before we got GTA 6, so crazy times we live in.
Yeah, at least some version of Blade, right? We got
Right.
somebody. I'm hoping there's going to be a voice line about people trying to ice skate uphill. There's got to be, right? It's just got to
Oh
happen.
yeah, for sure. There's gotta be.
Um, I wonder what the next like characters are going to be, because it's probably, I'm guessing Doom's going to come in like the year anniversary.
Oh yeah, I could see that being the case. I'm just hoping, maybe we get like Null or Dracula, the big villains, maybe coming back. I don't know how they would do it, making sense fighting with the heroes instead of against, but maybe one of those two characters can eventually come down the line.
Yeah, no, it would be dope. Um, I know that the ultimate for Gene is crazy, where you can lurk a hella in their ultimate and then the team below it. That's nuts to me.
I mean, like you said, that's depicting Jean being OP as hell, and just seeing it, you're just like, damn, that is too crazy, too powerful, but too much fun to stop.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to make those characters feel strong in the beginning. Although one would say, like, Human Torch wasn't necessarily strong in the beginning. I feel like so
Right.
maybe they're gonna overcorrect and make it too strong.
True. But we'll have to wait and see after 1.5. Yeah,
Yeah,
month and a half.
yeah. Now, NetEase has two bits of things coming out. Sony also has a couple things coming out. One of them, their consoles had a design flaw where if you had it vertical, the CP or the APU isn't going to necessarily get the liquid metal of the PS5, because what happens is it starts dripping down the console, causing dry spots in the APU. Which will cause forced shutdowns, which is kind of, I mean, for a console that expensive, kind of a huge
Mhm.
design flaw.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, they should have at least once somebody started talking about it, they should have been like, "Oh, hey, here's a update to certain PS5, consoles. Enter your serial number here to see if it was one of the ones affected, and let us help fix it." Because like that's BS. You spent like $700 on that PS5 after everything, and that happens to, and you can't keep it up. You have to light it down. That's messed up, in my opinion.
Well, from what I understand, if you got a launch PS5 or a earlier model, the potential problem isn't as prevalent. So it's more of the newer ones that
Oh,
have that issue. My PS5 is so rarely used because I'm more of a PC gamer that I think it's going to be good, because hopefully it hasn't been much to cause any sort of leaking or whatnot.
well, that's
I
good.
will say, I will say the the PS5, like, at least PlayStation started releasing some of their games into like Steam, or they did have the controversy of forcing their people to create PlayStation accounts for no reason on single player games that don't connect to the internet.
Yeah,
I mean, that was kind of a bummer, but you know they
right.
could
I
be
mean,
Nintendo.
dude, I mean, the company comes from the same place as Nintendo, so would not surprise me.
Now Sony's also getting sued over their PlayStation Store, uh in like Dutch PlayStation users, essentially. What do you think about that, Chris? Have you read much about it?
I was reading touch about it here and there just to make sure I'm kind of caught up on that, but the fact that you have to pay again for that kind of game after you've already spent so much on it is just a little, it doesn't sit right with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, from what I understand, there's issues with the fact that they also, like Apple, have a walled garden. that has a closed ecosystem. So um, they're excluding certain games. They're making digital games in the PlayStation Store basically have higher prices due to lack of competition because there's no way of getting any other type of digital game within the console. Which would be a huge game changer if PlayStation, I mean, what would Sony do? Would they just not sell PlayStations in within like the Dutch organizations? Or would they kind of I'd like how big is that market for them? Would they rework their entire console to allow another app store to allow purchases of games that aren't controlled by PlayStation, right? Because
Right.
when things are going on sale on Steam, they might not be going on sale on the PlayStation Store, right? So that Apple just lost that case with Epic, so that kind of brings the question: is there going to be console or specific stores to specific hardware nowadays, or is everything going to go the way of
Mm.
Xbox, where everything's going to be on everywhere? You can't really have you can have exclusives, but they could only be sold through the PlayStation Store, not maybe the Steam Store or something like that. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, I think that might be the easiest course for Sony to do is just have, other game stores on there and then exclusive be specifically for PlayStation. That's the only way I can see that working out for them in the long term.
Yeah. It's really interesting because like if they win lawsuit there, that could open up a lawsuit in other countries. And Japan's like
Hmm.
super litigious, and I mean Sony's got to have some good lawyers, but I don't know how good like their non-Japanese lawyers are. Like I wonder how good that stuff is overseas.
Yeah, because I mean, there have been some cases where, I think it was back in the early 90s. I could be wrong, don't quote me, but like they won that case with Kirby, that lawyer, and something about a character being copied from another person or something. But, that was back in the day before things were not as tight shipped when it came to video games. So,
Right,
they might
right.
not win this
And
time.
then we got some news with the Switch 2. Basically, a Nintendo Switch game, if you already have bought it, is going to get a free Switch 2 upgrade. And that's for
Hmm.
David Diver.
Yep.
What do you think of that, Chris?
I think it's awesome, awesome that they're doing that. And just the fact that you're like, hey, I don't have to spend more money on the same game for a new console that's slightly, well, not slightly, but better, is definitely a game changer for a lot of those people who have the console, don't have to spend money again. Because that kind of thing we were talking about earlier, that like that just means that almost any developer can do this. Make it free for the new Nintendo Switch 2 if you already have the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So basically, when I read this and when we were talking about it when we were planning the podcast, I was like, wait, if they're able to just do this for free, then every developer could do this for free. Like it's not
Hmm.
like just Nintendo's whole $10 upgrade. And I mean, I guess for certain games they offer feature upgrades, but if the game itself is just like a maybe, you know, graphical upgrade, then it's not worth it to charge. Like if you're not really adding more value to the game, then I don't, other than like a graphical upgrade, I don't think there's just been a precedent of other companies already offering their upgrades. You know what I mean? They want their gamers to be on the best looking version of the game.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of disappointing that Nintendo's pricing model is just so predatory.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate.
Now, talking
Um,
about two more positive bits of gaming news, and this is kind of like gaming plus movie news. We got HBO Max surprising Mortal Kombat fans with pretty much every iteration of cinematic Mortal Kombat. So you got the old school like 90s movies, early 2000s,
uh,
I think mainly 90s, and the little mini series that went along with
mhm.
it. In preparation for Mortal Kombat 2, which is going to be coming out later this year, I believe.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but they definitely last year. And some of those movies are kind of campy, kind of like outdated, but they're a lot of fun if you just kind of want to watch early '90s fighting Mortal Kombat movies. Really entertaining.
Well, yeah, they didn't figure out that you can make a serious like property movie, right? You can make a
Oh yeah.
serious movie based off of video game properties. Kind of like this. It took a while for us to get a serious video game about a movie property. You know what I mean?
Yep. For
Yeah, but
sure.
and what's really cool about the Mortal Kombat news as well is there's also like the announcement of the Mortal Kombat essentially like collection where you got the OG Mortal Kombat and pretty much every Mortal Kombat game released from every system if there was a system difference, all in one Mortal Kombat bundle essentially.
Mhm. Yeah, that's pretty dang cool that they have that whole bundle up for sure.
Yeah, and then in other news, and I've just started deep diving into this, but the Street Fighter movie is moving forward with an interesting cast.
Oh yeah, dude, the cast
Yeah.
looks amazing. Like
So
50.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
what I was saying, 50 Cent is the first, like, well, not the first, but the latest kind of breaking news on casting. And who is he playing, Chris?
He's playing Balrog, man. That's a freaking epic pick, man. And for anybody who's not known to any kind of Street Fighter, Balrog's the boxer from Street Fighter.
Yeah. So, I mean, the cool thing about that is like, I'm pretty sure 50 Cent trains in boxing at least a little bit, right? So I know he's going to have, like, I hope good form when it comes to his punches and such.
Oh yeah.
But they've also cast for like Chun-Li, Kalina
Mhm.
Liang, I believe, from
Ye-
Presence.
Yep.
And then MC Orville Peck, who's like a country artist, was cast as Vega, which I think is kind of funny because I don't know much about him, but I'm pretty sure he wears masks. So it's kind of like on brand for him.
Right. And then I think one of the funniest ones, in my opinion, is that we're getting Blanca, who's being played by our great friend. Oh gosh,
You
what
don't
is
even
his
know
name?
his name. How dare you? Jason Momoa.
God, I don't know why I haven't had mind blank there, Jason Momoa, but just seeing him play like a green Brazilian monster seems like it's going to be funny as hell.
Yeah. I wonder if he's going to start out as Jason Momoa and then become Blanca throughout the movie, you know?
Ooh, that could be
Um,
pretty cool.
Eric Andre's in it. He's a ring announcer. I think Andrew
Hmm.
Schultz is in it. He's playing Dan.
Oh,
Uh, Andrew Koji's playing Ryu. Roman
yeah.
Reigns from WWE fame is being Akuma. And we got Noah Centineo. I'm probably mispronounced his name, playing Ken. So we got a Ryu, we got our Ken, we got a Kuma. I think we
Kuma.
know like what the main like characters are going to be with that. But what other characters do we think they're going to try and get into this movie? Like, are we going to get E Honda? Are we going to get Dawson? Are we going to get Guile, Sagat, Cammy? Like, there's just a big,
Person,
yeah. Who would you want? Like, what character would you want in this?
I kind of want M. Bison. If he's not in the movie, I want him mentioned so that way if the movie does
Well,
good, they can introduce him
M.
later.
M. Bison is Walter Goggins.
Wait, was it? Oh, I missed
Yeah,
that then.
it's Walter Goggins. He plays the he's a cowboy in most movies, but the most recent thing he's been in was Fallout. He was the ghoul.
Oh. Oh, okay. Now I know who he is. Well, since I forgot that I didn't know that he was in Bison, then Saget, the Muay Thai fighter, that would be really fun to see.
Yeah. I wonder if we would see the guy before him, who was the champion that Sagat beat. Uh,
Oh,
he had the wild hair. It was orange. Also traditional Muay
yeah.
Thai.
God, I can't remember his name,
I
but
think
yeah.
they should. What I think they should do is they should fatten Patty up. He's a UFC fighter, Patty Pembleton, and he's been known to like gain weight and just be a fat dude in between fights and stuff. And then he like gets disciplined and retrains and such.
Yeah.
But there's a character called Bob, who's this overweight blonde dude who, I mean, I don't know if Patty can act, so I don't know if he can put on that American accent, but he's kind of a rival of Ken, if I remember correctly.
That could be funny. Pretty cool. Did they mention that sumo guy from Street Fighter being in
E
the
Honda?
movie? Yeah.
No, no. I wonder who you could get to play him, though. That,
That's a tough one because he's like a buff sumo. So obviously the belly's big, but the rest of him is ripped. So that would be
yeah,
interesting. They could probably find a legit sumo wrestler like that and
they
have
should
him
have
be
just
tested.
should CG a belly on just a ripped Japanese dude.
Dude, that would be cool. Or if they decide to do this, they can always do what's his name from Jason, not Jason, but Dave Batista as him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, something that would be good, Zangief.
Ooh, dude, he'd be a mean Zangief. That would be sick.
Yeah. Now, if there was any other fighting game that you would want made into a movie, we got Mortal Kombat, we got Street Fighter. Is there any other one that you would want in there?
From a video game to be made into a movie.
Because
Oh
we had a
man.
Tekken movie, but that wasn't the greatest. I
Mm-mm.
would say I want Soul Calibur.
Ooh, yeah, Soul Calibur's good.
Yeah, if we can get any of the Scars guards, all of them, just cast
Yeah.
all the Scars guards in various roles. But the dude from Murderbot and True Blood, he would be a great Siegfried.
Yeah, that could be cool. I would honestly say they already got like the steps of the universe to be built for this, but a Super Smash Bros. Movie, they already got the Mario movie and the Zelda movie out. Just actually have one be made and have all 30 characters just fight. That just
Well,
seems cool.
the Zelda movie is gonna be live action. That was just kind of like announced a couple months ago.
Yeah, but still, I would just love to see them all as in a, Super Smash Bros. Style. That would be what I would like.
Yeah, yeah. Now, parallel to our comic book news, this is kind of like movies and comics, but um, we saw some of the art for Justice League clashing with Kong, where they turned a
Hmm.
Batman villain into basically a kaiju.
Yeah, which is pretty cool because they did two. They had King Shark from Suicide Squad, and then Killer Croc, which was
The Killer
freaking
Croc,
cool.
yeah, the Killer Croc. I'm like, man, if only there was a dope Marvel Rivals esque DC game, because that would be a dope skin
Oh
for Killer
yeah,
Croc.
dude, he just has horns, or not horns, but spikes coming out of his body. Just looks more, kaiju titan, and dude, cool design, if I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of like those wild crossovers as long as it's done with respect to both properties. I think we mentioned that before in some of our previous podcasts. But the
Yeah.
Justice League with Godzilla with Kong crossover is just a funny, because Superman can stand toe to toe with these guys. He's just an ant to them.
Yeah.
And Batman's just probably figured out his own. He's probably redesigned Mecha Godzilla to have bat wings, and you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Probably
Yeah,
got
and
a Mega Kong. He just in the works.
yeah, man. I mean, Superman, obviously they had to tone him down a little bit so that way he doesn't run through all these kaijus, but it's always just fun seeing superheroes just fight giant monsters that are iconic like King Kong, Godzilla. Because I mean, to them, they're like, oh, they're humans that are flying, whatever. And then they get hit and they're like, oh shit, this is not a game. This is for real.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's like, oh, this little dude's got a punch.
Yup.
And then one of my favorite comic book writers, Robert Kirkman, is taking over Transformers.
Let's go.
Um, and made some changes to its creative team. So, are you a fan of Robert Kirkman, Chris?
Well, I never knew him. I just knew some of his properties, and you kind of explained to me like some of his properties, like Invincible and all that. And that was really good comic book as I'm been going through it, and even just the TV show has been really good. But I can only imagine what he can do with the Transformers property, because like the only good ones that come to mind are like the original Transformers and then Transformers One. Those two were slam dunk.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and in other news, uh we got Michael Bay coming back to the Transformers series, and they're making another live action Transformers with Michael
Ugh.
Bay, whose last outing with Transformers was, I think, its worst selling, worst reviewed property. So we'll see if he can recapture his magic.
Right. But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. Now, in things that we've been reading recently, we'll go with manga first. The newest Baruto, comes out around the third week of the month. What did you think of Baruto?
it was pretty cool. I wasn't anticipating the kind of spoilery that I always forget his name. Milwaukee,
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, thank you. Coming in and saving Baruto's life at the end of the battle that he was having with one of those, ninja. And I was like, whoa, was not anticipating that to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was kind of teased, or there was foreshadowing of it when Baruto was like, "You need to level up," and then Kawaki cornered what's his name, the doctor, the smoking
Um,
doctor.
oh, yes. Okay. Things are being put into place now.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So, I mean, with the cloning, and I've been thinking something with the Child of
Hmm.
Prophecy. We all assumed it was Naruto, but what
Hmm.
if it's Baruto?
I mean,
And here's my theory on that. Here's why I think it might be Baruto who's the Child of Prophecy. It's because it's said that Jiraiya is going to train the Child of Prophecy. But what if, because Kashin Koji is the clone of Jiraiya, what if Kashin Koji is, because he's the clone of Jiraiya, Kashin Koji's the one that trains the Child of Prophecy, and it's actually
hmm.
Baruto?
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It does fit the original prophecy. And I mean, with Kashikoji's, ability to, do what he does and training Baruto as hard as he's been, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe that's like a loophole, or, I mean, in the comic book world, a retcon, right? So that could very well happen. It just makes sense to me. I'm like looking at it, and Kashin Koji is he's like trying to pinpoint Boruto's future, and he can't quite do it. And what if he's like in the Child of Prophecy? What if the whole wordplay on that is that he can change prophecy, right?
Okay.
And like that's kind of what Kashin Koji has been getting, is prophecies of Baruto and the future of Baruto and whatnot. So what if that Child of Prophecy is kind of taken a little bit more literally, where Baruto, one of like the abilities that he's going to get is the ability to significantly impact the future that Kashin Koji sees.
Yeah, that very well could be. Because, I mean, his prophecy or his visions are always a little bit different whenever Baruto decides to do something, or it always changes when Baruto's directly involved. So I could definitely see that being a power of his, a manipulator, as you will.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like Doctor. Oh man, why do I forget his name? But she's gonna be like the Orishimaru. He's definitely got
Oh
some
yeah.
plots as well. He's got some plots laid out that he's been like, he's definitely playing a long game. And I'm wondering if Shikamaru is gonna Shiana, or if it's gonna be Shikamaru's son that's gonna kind of figure him out.
I hope it's one of the two. I mean, those two are some of the smartest people in that village and who would
Yeah.
definitely see something for sure. So only matter of time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've been enjoying it. I mean, I know there's a lot of hate that goes on for Baruto and whatnot, and just leaning into the Space Ninja portion of it, because a lot of people at least that I know of my generation, that's where they really fell off of Naruto or started to be like, oh, this is good, but I wouldn't put it up there as one of the best animes of all time because they got space ninjas at the end, and they weren't exactly happy with that. But what have you been thinking about, like going into the comics that we've been reading? What have you been thinking about the Absolute Universe and the comic lineup that DC's been producing?
I've never been to reading into DC much, but ever since starting all the absolutes have been getting me to wanting to read more on DC's comic books. All of them have been a smash hit. I have an order of which ones I like more than the rest, but I like
What's
the
your ranking right
different.
now?
All right, right now, top Wonder Woman, two Flash, then Superman, then Batman, and then Martian Manhunter.
Oh man, I feel like my list is it ranks way different.
All right, let's hear it. Let's
Because
hear it.
well, I would put Batman at number one.
Okay.
I would then go Wonder Woman because I also have been really digging Wonder Woman. I would go Flash,
Hmm.
then Martian Manhunter, then Superman. But to be honest,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I've never really been a Superman stan. He's a cool character, and I think in the right hands, he's super interesting. In the main continuity, I like the tale of like the lone survivor, if you will. I like it
Right.
when they like lean into that. But I super dig the current iteration of Batman, and so
Hmm.
my theory in this version of Batman, because he is the everyman in this.
Hmm.
His mother was a teacher. Or no, his father was a teacher. His mom's a public servant and stuff like that. Batman isn't wealthy. He doesn't have all the gadgets. But what he has is community, right? He
Oh,
has a
yeah.
community, and that's been flipped on its head with them being essentially the rogues of Batman in the main continuity. And then we have this tease of Joker. And like I know the printed
Yeah.
versions are farther ahead than the uh than where we're at in absolute in terms of digital.
Hmm.
But I'm wondering if the Joker is the money CEO, because basically Arkham, they've been taking prisoners from what we understand in this story,
Yep.
and there's a lot of mystery behind it. I'm wondering if, and then we know that Joker is involved somehow, but I'm wondering if
Hmm.
maybe the Joker is the like a CEO of a major company like Batman is in the main continuity, and they're kind of flipping those roles. Whereas Joker's like out on the streets, it's Batman out on the streets, and
Yeah.
instead of Batman being the Playboy billionaire, it's kind of like Joker's the Playboy billionaire, probably hiding his weird body, his weird baby body.
Yeah, because it's so weird. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't do anything like a normal Joker would. But even in the Batman Absolute, like I will have to give this. Batman, I think, has the best looking absolute villains so far. Like Mr. Freeze was creepy, Black Mask was creepy, even the Joker not laughing was creepy as hell. So I will
Yeah, man.
say,
The art is weird. Not weird in a bad way. There
yeah,
are certain moments where they try and depict a normal person, like a regular Joe Schmo, and it just looks odd.
yeah.
Um, I love the art of Wonder Woman though.
Oh, that one's so good. The art is
Yeah.
beautiful, man.
The artists in Wonder Woman, they're killing it. I love the story and like the witch elements of Wonder Woman and her
Hmm.
involvement in magic and stuff. Uh, Yeah, and that's why it ranks number two for me. See, my thing with Superman is just I can't, like, I haven't really had a chance to really catch up to it either. So
Hmm.
I've seen the covers and I'm looking forward to where they go with Brainiac, but I haven't caught up all the way. I think I'm like 5 issues behind. So I've mainly been dealing with Peacemakers and Brainiacs and like setting
Yeah.
up see this version of Kal-El is.
See, I like this version of Superman because one, he's still getting used to his powers for being on planet Earth, and he's just like an angsty teenager. And I'm like, we've all been through our angsty teenager phase, so it's relatable. But also him just not being totally dominant in every battle, right? he comes in, wins some battles, loses some battles, and I'm like, to me, that just is a more appealing Superman than most other iterations. So that's kind of why
Yeah.
I ranked it up higher for my personal taste.
Well, yeah, and that's fine. I mean, everybody can have their own different tier system, right?
Oh, for sure.
We're not gonna yuck people's yums. We're not gonna be haters over here.
100%.
Now, I love Flash because I feel
Oh,
like
so good.
so here's my take on Flash. Flash right now is living both in the present, but also in the future and in the past.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of I don't know. I feel like they're kind of maybe taking a take of the Flash is living in between death because they have like, I mean, who knows if they're going to release this in the absolute Flash, but there's the Death Racer, the Black Flash, and stuff like that, who are all representations of death. And what if they're taking the phrase, your life flashes before your eyes?
Hmm.
Kind of like that. Like the monster that he's alluding to might be him who might be like dying.
Um,
And like she is the Flash because he's living his life flashing before his eyes almost.
yeah, like I like the whole, dynamic of the past, future, and present all just kind of mixing into one. But I also love what they did with Grodd. Instead of being like this giant ape that's his enemy, he sympathizes with the Flash and be like, hey, we're not so different. We're honestly
Yeah.
alike in a lot of
Well, they were
ways.
both experimented on.
And I'm just like, dude, that is so cool and just so like heart tugging. You're like, damn, that's actually really good.
Yeah, I also love how Grodd is a little monkey
Oh
instead
yeah.
of a big old ape or gorilla.
Yeah. He kind of reminds me of Brainiac almost, just a
Yeah.
little purple green monkey. So cool.
And what have you been thinking of the Marvel comics we've been following? We've been doing a lot of X-Men stuff. So X-Men, Phoenix, and Storm, and the Ultimates.
I will say this first off, Ultimates. That universe is fucked, and I mean fucked hard because of that maker. He literally is just toying with every superhero that would have been in messed up ways. Because have you caught up with the Ultimates yet?
Yeah.
So, just a spoiler for anybody who hasn't caught up, but with the most recent issue, they have Namor on the damn wall like a trophy, like a fish trophy. And I'm like, oh my God, he's just a dried out fish that's just dead hanging on a wall. That's fucked up, quite literally.
Yeah. I mean, they almost crushed You Stark. You
Dude,
know, I mean, and what the maker did to his variant of Mr.
oh,
Fantastic and turning him into
yeah.
Doctor Doom is also pretty terrible too. I mean,
Dude,
oddly enough, the character who's mainly treated terrible in the main MCU that's gotten the best is Spider-Man. You know,
yeah.
like he's got a family. He's with Mary Jane. Uh,
Uncle
Gwen
Ben's
Stacy's
alive.
still alive. Uncle Ben's still alive. Like he's friends with J. Jonah Jameson. Like
Yeah.
it's just so funny, and I love how it's kind of come full circle where Peter Parker meets Miles Morales in
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, and then like there's this amazing story between them and kind of a passing the torch. And now it's more experienced Miles Morales meeting an inexperienced Peter Parker and his son for the
Yeah.
first time. I love that. I think that's really cool. I like the like also the iteration of Craven.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about Venom or what they're doing with that yet.
Yeah, that's a unique thing. I gotta wait till I see more of him to kind of give a better idea. But I do like the ultimate version of the Hulk. He's just a complete, like, he looks like a Buddhist monk, like the calmest Hulk you ever see. But he's the most vicious that I've seen in a long time. Just
Oh
killing
my god!
anybody he
And
wants.
the Ultimate Wolverine, like he has this
Oh,
shitty life.
yeah.
Ultimate Colossus and Magic are bad guys like that. They
Crazy.
do a cool. I love honestly. I love things like DC Elseworlds and Marvel's What If. I love these like
Hmm.
reinterpretations of characters. Like, what if he turned right here instead of left, and this is how his
Yep.
life went. I
Hmm.
love that. I love that. What have you been thinking about the X-Men comics?
It's been actually really cool. I caught up with the Uncanny X-Men, and I do like how Rogue is slowly becoming a leader of her own. Like, hey, this is my team, and I need to be a leader for all of them. and also
Which is
just,
wild because she's been a leader of many teams before, like that's the thing about comic book writing. Sometimes you'll like forget that this person totally led an entire team all the time.
you see, I didn't know that about her, history, that she led other teams. So to me, this is like the
Oh
very
yeah.
interesting dynamic for Rogue. And
No, in the
you know,
90s when the X-Men were probably like at one of its peak popularity, they had a gold team, a blue team, and a red team, I think. And then they had, they would have various different generations of like Alpha Team, Bravo Team, and whatnot. And they would always have like 3 or 4 different teams in the stack. And then Rogue in the Age of Apocalypse universe was pretty much the Cyclops of the X-Men. She was like
okay.
the main leader of the X-Men values, right behind the Professor X or Magneto in that.
Oh, that's cool. But yeah, I've been liking it. Also, her controlling her powers a lot better. And then Gambit's always been a cool character in that, with the teens and him doing his own thing. So I've been liking Uncanny X-Men for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll ever unnerf him and make him back to his pre standards of being a Omega level.
Hey man, time will tell depending on the reader, or
What'd you think
writer.
of Phoenix and Storm before we move on?
Ooh. All right. Personally, out of all the, ones that we've been reading, Storm has been my favorite. I just
Storm's
love the
got a
more.
cool like celestial,
Yeah.
storyline going on.
So do you want me to spoil it, or do we want to wait a
No,
little
no,
bit to
yeah,
talk
yeah, yeah.
about it?
Well, now that we let the audience know, because I accidentally gave away spoilers earlier without giving a spoiler alert. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for Phoenix and Storm. Go ahead.
So for Storm, she's pretty much the avatar of the concept Infinity in Marvel Comics, one of the most powerful characters in that universe, and she's just kicking everybody's ass. And she's probably beaten Doctor Doom, although that was kind of a standoffish. And that's been my favorite out of all the comics we've been reading, is Storm, just because Storm's an interesting character, and having that kind of power has just been such a kick-ass thing to see.
Yeah, Storm's always been badass. I mean, I'm glad it's cool because, like, just recently in X-Men '97, you had really great moments within Jean and Storm. You know, uh, have them weather your mind, and the whole like sisterly bond between them. I'm glad they're like kind of leveling up to each other because now Storm could stand in power side by side with Phoenix. How have you been enjoying the Phoenix run?
Phoenix has been pretty good. I'm not sure if you've caught up on Phoenix yet. But if you haven't, there is a one of the latest chapters introduces something, and I'm excited to hear your opinion on it once you do read it.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I think I'm only 4 issues in, honestly.
okay, I won't spoil it, but
Yeah,
you'll know the part that I'm talking about, and it's something different that I wasn't expecting. I kind of like it. I want to see how it goes, but all around, very fun. I like what they're doing with Jean Grey and the Phoenix deciding, are they two separate entities from Jean Grey's perspective, or are they one? So I'm liking where that story goes.
yeah. And then kind of tie it into some TV news and anime news and stuff like that. We have a trailer for a new Black Panther TV series by Marvel. It looks
Yeah.
dope. I love the art style. I love Wakanda as a place, as a narrative in the world. And man, it just looks gorgeous. What did you think of the trailer?
Like you said, the art beautiful. I like how they're gonna have more of the Marmalage in there being a prominent force for Black Panther, and I just want to see what they're gonna do because they're already badasses. I just want to see how much more of a badass they're gonna be.
Yeah, the Dora Milaje, man. I mean, they're always badass. So, and I'm also interested to see like the other tribes of Wakanda, things that we
Yeah.
got teased in Black Panther, and we had like some concept of, but I want to really see all these different tribes shine, and they're like, their beings, their personality, their quirks, what they are.
Oh, for sure.
Now, something I'm excited to talk about because this is one of my favorite franchises and properties from my teenage years is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot. Um, what's really cool is they announced who's going to be taking over. Not taking over, but who the principal actress is for the show, which is going to be Ryan Kiera Armstrong, who played Shin in the Ahsoka series, which is the Dark Jedi Apprentice, the Gray Jedi Apprentice. So I'm interested in that. It's produced and alongside with Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's trying to make sure that they're honoring the old series with this and having a distinct path for the new series, and wants a good mix of old characters and new characters. So I'm excited to hopefully see Buffy and Willow together, who are some of the main ones. I don't know if the actor who plays Xander is going to I don't know. I heard. I don't know if it was his brother. I think he might have, taken the easy way out. If you know what I mean. I'm gonna have to double check that.
Okay.
But he played Xander, and I don't know what they're gonna do with that character. Nicholas Brendan. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or was that his brother? I'm not 100% sure. No, he's still alive. So yeah, I know he was going through a rough patch in his personal life, so I'm hoping that he would be good to come back to the show, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know much about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know you were filling me in the other day, and I'm like, man, this has a lot of history,
We
a
should react
lot of
to
cool
it.
stuff, and yeah, I would be down to react with that just to kind of enjoy what you enjoy because that seems like a very cool series. So
Well,
I'm willing
and
to see
what
what
I want to
happens.
do as well is I want to, when I do, because I've seen a lot of stuff already, but I would like to go back into it and take notes as a DM and storyteller
Mhm.
and see what I can do about incorporating some of that into like either games or plot narratives or hooks um, in that way, just because it's not going to be a first time reaction for me. So I feel like that's a way to make it a little bit more unique.
Nice.
And you had a chance to see Jurassic World. What did you think of Jurassic World?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good Jurassic Park movie. Definitely better than most of the Jurassic World movies. I thought it was really good. There was some things where I think they could have had some of the newer dinosaurs that they were talking about in the trailers be in the movie a lot more. And I was hoping for like a
Isn't
kind
that
of
how it
like
always
a
goes?
well, like with the other movies, you'd have like two giant dinosaurs kind of going at it. We had some of that, but not what I was hoping for. Not a
Right.
bad movie, but I would say it's close to an 8 out of 10. It's a very solid movie. I'm happy with it.
Awesome. Awesome. So you would recommend people go out and see it?
I would recommend you go out and see it. Yeah.
What does Scarlett Johansson play in that?
She plays this mercenary. I forget. I'm terrible with names, so sorry about that. But she plays this mercenary who's just kind of like the head of the expedition team, making sure they get their mission
Sure.
done and completed with. So pretty
Okay.
good
Awesome.
character. Very fun.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and end our conversation tonight with the. We haven't seen the movie, but we wanted to talk about these live action remakes of animated movies, like How to Train Your Dragon. Um, Go ahead and start it off, Chris. What do you think of these type of live action adaptations?
Personally, a lot of them are not that good. Like How to Train Your Dragon, I think is like one a rare exception where they just literally copied everything from the animated and put into live and changed a few things, like making the family, dynamic a little bit more easier to understand and flushed out a bit more, which is definitely nice. So I think How to Train Your Dragon's probably the best live adaptation. For example, like Lilo and Stitch, they changed a good amount of it to not be like the original. And I think that's what a lot of people are asking for. They're like, there's a reason why people love the original animated and why they're not doing good in live action because they're not bringing that
Yeah, I
to
mean, I
life.
come I come from an island family, not necessarily Hawaiian, but ain't no way we're gonna let a blood family member of ours be under government like sent to the government, dude.
Nah.
I heard about the ending to that, and I was like, what? What kind of island? Like this does not, man. Nah, dude. That's not how Islanders work. You know, I just
Yeah.
was kind of like I was almost offended, and this and the director's like, "Oh, it's more realistic." I'm like, dude, no island family that I know of would ever give up a child to the state. There's
Nah.
an aunt somewhere, dude. Like it's gonna go down the generations. It's gonna go down the line.
Yep.
And if one of the main blood members ain't got it, we're gonna find a cousin. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that was just wild to me. I get I'm heated to just the moment you said it, I was like, oh, that movie is changed. It changed the most important part. You know,
Yeah. They say it's all about family. I'm like, that's not about family. That's being selfish of a family member and letting someone else deal with it.
the only
So,
way that would have been good is if they're like. And a family it goes to, and Vin Diesel shows up. It's like it's all about
it's all
family.
about family.
Yeah, like that's the only way I think it could have ever really done. Now, the thing with How to Train Your Dragon, and I think this is why like the Netflix series wasn't so bad with Avatar: The Last Airbender, is the How to Train Your Dragon was essentially like written. I think it was directed to and produced by the same guy who did How to Train Your Dragon, the animated series, the animated movies.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's literally the same creative head. It redid it for live action. So I could
Mm.
understand if he makes changes because that was like, oh, he's getting a second chance at at telling the story and maybe looking back on certain things and feeling like he could quote unquote get it more right, you know?
Oh, for sure. So I think he definitely did the second chance, give me a second chance, and I think did a really good job out of it.
Well, and that's what I think you need to do. If you're going to do a live action version, like I think the worst case scenario is Dragon Ball.
Oh God, no! Don't
Right?
bring
Like
that up.
that's literally the worst case scenario when you're like, we know this property makes a shit ton of money, so we're gonna bring it to the masses, even though we have no idea how to stay true to the source material and original, you know. And I think a good compromise is the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender version because while it did change things, it didn't. It changed some things shouldn't have gotten changed. Like we should have kept Sokka a sexist little kid to grow
Hmm.
into the mature adult that he becomes by the end of the series, right?
Right,
Certain things make sense, like some of the combining of plot lines and storylines just to help move the
mhm,
story forward at a good pace, right?
right.
Some of the changes happen for pacing because it's not a 20 some odd series of 30 minutes. You're getting what, 6 to 10 episodes of like 40, 45 minutes. So
Right.
you have to condense some things. And some things you got to tell for a different audience because the animation is clearly meant for children, whereas the live action is going to be meant for young adults.
Hmm.
So, like, you know, I heard in the second season, Toph is going to be a little bit more in tune with her femininity. And I think that makes sense because they touched on that being an insecurity of hers and being
Hmm.
pretty and being a girl or girly, you know, because she's
Right.
blind and can't tell her beauty through that, right?
Hmm.
So it was a good moment in that series where Katara kind of like helps comfort her and lets her know it's like, no, you're gorgeous. And that's something that like, you know, can translate well to young adults. And you're gonna need a different nuance with that than that of a preteen. Cause I mean, we've all been through it when we were children is definitely way different than when we were teenagers, which is definitely way different than when we are adults, right? Those are like
Hmm.
three different phases. And the storytelling is trying to go through the lens of those different phases. Because Korra kind of was that young adult theme and definitely touched on more young adult themed stuff. Whereas, uh, you know, the animation was meant for kids, and then the next one's going to be meant for young adults.
Right. I get, totally makes sense. I do want to see a little bit more mature, but also just keep some of the messages that they had important in that series. So,
Well, they
you
did
know,
that in How to Train Your Dragon through the course of the three movies because
right.
the first one was, Hiccup coming of age. Then the second one was a more sure, confident, like teenage Hiccup. And then the last one was him like becoming an adult,
Yeah. Which
reaching
I
that
think they
adulthood.
nailed it very well. So hopefully the next two are pretty good.
Yeah. And I think that's probably how they should tell the Avatar series because the actors are going to age up, I think, fairly quickly, especially Aang, so it would
Oh
make
yeah.
sense to kind of make this story not just be a year. I think they didn't really did they put a hard timeline on Sozin's Comet?
I know in the original series it was 1 year before Sozin's
Mm.
Comet comes. Although I don't remember what they said in the Netflix, but I would hope that it would be a very similar time um between the two shows. Because anything shorter wouldn't make too much sense, but anything longer could make sense.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it would make sense if they kind of like said it was going to be because they did it super quick,
Hmm.
maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, or a full year. Because that way it'll give a good explanation as to the actors having aged, the characters having aged.
Right. So I think it would make sense to extend Sozin's Comet to being 2 years at most. So I'd be okay with that.
Awesome. Well, we've reached the end of the pod. Just two guys, two friends, former coworkers, just shooting the shit, talking about the things they love. If you joined us in for our entire time, thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe, and all that content creator stuff. But tune in next week, every Wednesday. We're trying to release some stuff, and we are going to be doing some live reactions, hopefully soon. So if people enjoy that, we might just keep on doing it. So, yeah, thanks for listening in. Have a good one.
Like it and appreciate you for all the views.
Peace.
Peace.